All right, Ruben, how do you want me to play?
I've watched a lot of Sporting Lisbon games over the last few days, and clearly so has Van Nistelrooy.
It's out with the old and in with the rude. Well, for now, anyway, as Ruud van Nistelrooy took charge of his first Premier League game as Manchester United interim manager and drew 1-1 with enigmatic but improving Chelsea at Old Trafford on Sunday. And back in the Tactics Exposed studio, as always, is Dean Scoggins, Sunsport's tactical guru, joins us. And Dino, you've got 5 tactical teasers that fans should have noticed from that game at Old Trafford on Sunday.
Yeah, it's very intriguing with a new manager to come in. And first of all, Ruben van Nistelrooy. There was a new shape and a new point to the new setup that it will be under Amorim. The midfield two starting to eat the donut in the Man United midfield and caught in a playing out trap. It was pretty horrible and pretty confusing for United there. And then there was all-action Hojlund up front, but I thought a woeful performance from Marcus Rashford. And then, on Chelsea, baffling decision on Cole Palmer from Enzo Maresca.
Yeah, well, I already can't wait to get to I'm caught in a playing out trap. I don't know how I'm going to shoehorn that one in. But look, it's big change at Manchester United. It's worth saying, first of all, we will do a special episode, won't we, on Tactics Exposed, on Ruben Amorim and what United fans can expect from him when he finally gets out of his Sporting Lisbon gig. But what did you see then on Sunday at Old Trafford in this 3-4-3 formation that makes you think there might be some similarities between Ruud and Ruben?
Yeah, I've been doing a massive amount of homework on Ruben Amorim. I've watched a lot of Sporting Lisbon games over the last few days, and clearly so has Van Nistelrooy. And as I say, we'll come to that. We'll come to Amorim, but Van Nistelrooy, they were on paper set up in their normal 4-2-3-1 or even 4-4-2 at times with Bruno playing off the front. But realistically, what they did was move to 3-4-3 in possession. Right. And that is Amorim's formation. So Van Nistelrooy, little audition there maybe to stay on the staff. And I know what you're going to do, Ruben. But basically, the intriguing one was Dalot. So Dalot, who has been the wing-back or the full-back or even inverting as a full-back at a lot of times for United, he effectively in the first half played as a right centre-back. He barely got forward, barely crossed the halfway line, took a couple of throws, got forward for a couple of corners, but that was about it. And in a defensive setup, when they turned the ball over, it was Dalot playing as the right centre-back, De Ligt as the centre-back and Martinez the other side. So there was a clear 3 there straight away, and Garnacho was the one playing as the nominal wing-back, right-hand side player, as you would do in a 3-4-3.
Like opposite to Mazraoui, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Mazraoui played on the left and Garnacho sort of came in on that right-hand side. Again, we'll come to Amorim a different time, but that will become very much more of a 5 at the back when they're defending under Amorim. Yep. But Ruud was quite brave and Garnacho played on that right-hand side, which meant that Bruno and Rashford are then the two playing off of Hojlund in that 3-4-3. So it was clear. We saw it 4 or 5 times in the first half. And I found it quite encouraging for United that after months and months, well, years of Ten Hag and not seeing anything, that in a week, Ruud van Nistelrooy was able to implement something that will start off the Amorim era. He said at the start of the game, and sort of almost with a grin, I haven't spoken to Amorim. There's been no contact. I don't believe him. Because it really, really was like, here you go, mate. Here's a look at what these players could look at in the first half. First half was pretty good. Second half got a bit erratic in that formation and a bit confusing. But there were some early signs.
Do you think it might have been all right, Ruben, how do you want me to play? And if I play like that, can I be your number 2?
Well, it was effectively that, I think. And it was, and look, gorgeous Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's getting better and better with age, isn't he? The roll necks and all that as well.
I'm not sure. You reckon he's had a bit of a glow up, don't you? But
definitely a glow up since we last saw him at Old Trafford.
Well, yeah, maybe that might be true. It's just the beard. The beard does everything. I can't grow one, so I'm never going to have it. Look, there was a clear, solid 2 in midfield. Right, and you're talking about eating the midfield donut. Now, I always give you kudos for coming up with quirky tactical terms week in, week out, but this one really might take the biscuit.
Don't take the donut. Donut or polo, just a big hole in the middle. Yeah. And that's what's been going on at Old Trafford and Man United.
But a good one? A good
No, absolutely not.
One?
Previously, this has been that there's just been this acres of space in midfield. And the Tottenham game we looked at, the Liverpool game we looked at, where they're getting caught pressing upfield because they don't really know how to press very well, and the defence are not committed enough to come forward and gamble on that they're not going to get beaten over the top. Yeah. So that means there's just this big open hole
for the opposition to do
exactly to play, and
kind of what Tottenham exploited at Old Trafford.
Very much so, very, very much so. And this would have been a huge part of training in the week for United, because we've seen before the Chelsea box midfield. Yeah. So the inversion of the fullback, 4 players in there, and what it meant was Casemiro and Ugarte had a really, really big job to do. And Ugarte, we've seen sort of fits and starts so far, but I thought there was a little bit where he showed for the first time what they've bought. He was combative, lots of fouls. We're going to expect to see more and more of that. It's obviously a yellow card. But Casemiro and him, in the absence of Kobbie Mainoo, played as a 2, a proper 2. They weren't ahead of each other, behind each other most of the time. All the time, you'd see them either side of the centre circle. You saw them screening in front of the back 4, the back 3 at times, getting up to support, but as a 2. Yeah. And it's so important, especially against teams like Chelsea. And it was clearly drilled, another tick for Ruud. And it just shows that in that 3-4-3 Amorim formation that they will play a 2-man midfield. Right. They will play a 2 in there. And, at times the guys up front and the number 10s will come back in to support them. And at other times a full-back or a wing-back will move in field to help them. But it will be a 2. And this was the first pointer to that.
Yeah, so is that thing you've spoken about before, right? 2 players or 3 sometimes playing on a piece of string. Now, where United had such vast spaces in the middle under Ten Hag, lots and lots of times that were getting exploited, what's going to be the answer? Is it that sort of vertical sort of back to front movements we've been speaking about, or you've been speaking about?
But it's also, don't get involved in areas of the field that you're not required to get involved in. I think Bruno gets a lot of criticism at times where he does other people's jobs for them. Yeah. Okay, so it's not that he's not working hard, and I don't think we can criticise United over the last few weeks for not running. They are running, they're just a bit erratic, and this was much more organised, and Bruno, communication-wise, worked very hard with that midfield 2 to make sure they were working as a unit, and that's the key.
Because is it similar then? We did the Mazraoui episode, right, soon after he signed, saying how the position that Ten Hag was trying to get him to play and the style was almost freeing up Casemiro, but has he got, freeing him up to do almost a Szoboszlai role at Liverpool?
Yeah, but has he got the engine to do that?
But has he got the legs? So is this, you're talking about now, this 3-4-3 with the 2 in midfield, Casemiro and Ugarte, is that basically utilising Casemiro and Ugarte properly rather than expecting him to do stuff that's probably beyond him?
Yeah, and they didn't get overrun by a very impressive Chelsea midfield. Caicedo, Lavia, Palmer, and then whoever was inverting. First half, it was Gusto. Second half, it was Cucurella. And they didn't get overrun. So there was an improvement there, definitely.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, the playing out from the back. We've spoken about this.
Or trying to.
Yeah, you've spoken about this time and time again from a Manchester United point of view. Onana is supposed to be the man to help with that, the playing out from the back, as is so fashionable to do in football. Now, do you think, A, is that going to be something Amorim does? And B, from what you saw against Chelsea, are they any closer to figuring that out?
Well, it's not only fashionable, it's necessary in the Premier League. And that's just because of the way teams play now. You can tell the people who sit near me when I'm at a Premier League game who don't normally go to Premier League games, because when teams play out from the back, they're going, hot in the mouth sort of thing. No, don't worry, they do it all the time. That's fine, okay? So, and to answer your first question, yes, under Amorim, they will do it. Amorim uses the 2 midfield players and the 2 centre-backs to bounce passes in and out to the goalkeeper. Yeah. So it goes in and out, and it's sort of like zigzags in between, and then he expects the goalkeeper or one of the 2 centre-backs to then find the number 10s, okay? It's direct. It can be to the number 9 as well, but it's direct. Was there an improvement yesterday? No, absolutely not. There was an improvement in their positions, okay? They did this interesting thing where De Ligt went to the right and Dalot, who was nominally the right centre-back, came inside De Ligt to come and receive the ball. But then they didn't pass it to him. So they're confused in what they're trying to do. Gary Neville mentioned it on the commentary, and he's absolutely right. It should be second nature. They should be doing it almost without thinking. If it comes to me and the striker comes, I'm going left.
Yeah.
If I'm getting pressed from the left, I'm going into midfield and he's going to bounce it right. And so it should be second nature. They should be drilling it time and time again on the training ground, and they're just not. And, well, I hope they're not, because they can't do it in a match day. Yeah. Onana is good with his feet. They will get better at it under Amorim. But yeah, it was confused yesterday. The moment that Onana nearly gifted it to Jackson and Chelsea nearly nicked it was a Chelsea trap. They set the trap. But what we'll notice from that moment is De Ligt's not in the picture.
Yeah.
And De Ligt should be close enough that Onana can pass it to him and he can pass it to Dalot. Everybody's got a role in there. It's not very complicated. No. It's just like if you're playing a move through midfield, it's patterns of play. Yeah. And we practice it all the way through youth levels. Teams will practice it right from the way. Everyone will do it the same team all the way through those setups. So if a young player comes into the first team, they know what to do.
All right, tell you what then, Dino. Amorim turns up whenever it might be. He actually gets to Carrington and Old Trafford. He turns up and he goes, right, lads, we're doing playing out from the back drills today. Is he in the back of his mind going, I've got the right personnel here? Have Manchester United got the right players at the back or in midfield? I assume that's important as well, to play the way that you have seen Amorim will want to play when it comes to resetting and setting attacks from the back?
I think, to be honest with you, I don't think it matters at the beginning whether he's got the right players or not. He's going to play that way.
Right.
And that will then be a long-term plan of, right, I haven't got the right player in that position to do it. And that's where a very, very difficult recruitment job will come in. But Lenny Yoro is important here. Right. We've not seen him yet. Yeah. And he will be the right centre-back instead of Dalot in that setup, I think. And that will be De Ligt in the middle. So that will make a difference. Mazraoui, I thought, had a really good game yesterday. Clearly, he could be either one of the two wing-backs. Yep. We might see more involvement from Harry Maguire. And hopefully they get Luke Shaw back fit as well, because he can do this. We've seen him do it in an England shirt. So there are players there who can do it. But for me, it's drilling it. It's gaining confidence in doing it time and time again, repetition, and then it will happen.
OK, Rasmus Hojlund, he polarises opinion among Manchester United fans and Premier League fans. Generally, he hasn't set the world on fire since he arrived at Old Trafford, but then who has since anyone arrived at Old Trafford in the past few years? Talk to me about Hojlund.
Well, everyone's been talking about Gyökeres the last week because it's almost like Amorim's going to bring this £100 million player with him.
Coventry City legend.
Yeah, good luck with that when, he's halfway through a season, he's got a buyout clause and Man United haven't got the money to spend. But Hojlund, they've spent a lot of money on anyway.
Yeah.
I thought there were some really good signs yesterday. They were more direct to him. He played as a proper number 9 yesterday. He wasn't drifting into the channels, which is almost like an excuse not to have the ball into feet at times.
Yeah.
If you're running down that channel, then you're not wanting contact with the centre-backs. He wanted contact yesterday. He's had a week with Van Nistelrooy. But he's playing combatively.
If he's watched Tactics Exposed before, he'll know that Dean Scoggins is a big advocate of selfless runners.
Absolutely.
So what if he's trying to do that?
The number 10s are the runners in this formation.
Right.
So he has got to be the target. And he was, to be fair. And on the moment he won the penalty, look, he didn't have enough touches in the box, like one touch in the penalty area, which won the penalty. But they've got to get him in the box. Oh, he was definitely caught, but that's a referee's show there, isn't it? But yeah, and he drew fouls around the centre of the field. He got them out when they were under a bit of pressure because he won a free kick. He had a good ding-dong with Colwill and Fofana. And, for the penalty incident, he actually goes head-to-head with Caicedo outside of the area and then sells Chelsea with a lovely little peel-off run over the back. And if he's going to contact people in front of the goal and then go round the back for another touch, he's got a bit about him, I think. I think we're going to see a lot more from Hojlund under Amorim.
And what does Amorim do anything drastic with him, do you think? Are there any similarities between him and Victor Gyökeres, like you mentioned?
I think there are similarities in their stature, their pace. I mean, we're not seeing Hojlund put the ball in the back of the net enough because probably Man United aren't giving him enough chances to do so. But again, we'll do a full episode on what Amorim expects from strikers and number 10s. But he plays people off the front, and it really doesn't suit the likes of Marcus Rashford. Bruno, it was better, but the creativity comes from the two players off the front man, and they play like a little triangle 3. Yeah. I think Hojlund's got a bit about him, but Rashford for me was terrible.
Well, hang on a minute. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but Ineos, the saviour of Manchester United, as he's been being billed, stood up and applauded Marcus Rashford off the pitch at Old Trafford on Sunday, not for Dean Scoggins.
No, I mean, I've applauded my favourite player off as well when he's had a bad game, but it doesn't mean he had a good game. I mean, look, I don't think in the first half it was necessarily a lack of effort. I think he was confused by where they wanted him to play. I think in the first half, because Mazraoui was playing as that left wing back and he was expecting to drift in, he doesn't want the ball to feet. He doesn't want to be taking the ball on the turn. He wants the ball in behind. So I got a little bit of I feel a little bit sorry for him from that perspective. But there was a moment in the second half where Cucurella peeled off the back of him. Bearing in mind, Cucurella is the left back who is inverting. So when Rashford had switched to the right-hand side in the second half, that's his man. And Cucurella is next to him. Rashford starts to sprint and then just lets him go. And it was a bit like the Dalot incident in the Tottenham game where we pulled up Dalot. And he was very lucky that Chelsea didn't score from that incident because Cucurella's gone sprinting forward. Rashford doesn't bother to follow him. And look, he was in and out of the game. A couple of times he chased back quite hard in the first half, but that was really because he'd given the ball away in the first place going the other way. He looks confused. He's 27 years old now. I mean, he's not the superstar kid anymore. He should be one of the leaders at Man United, and I feel he's in real danger of being the sacrifice. And then saying that, the man who came on to replace Hojlund, Xerxes, I mean, I've seen more movement from a lamppost in a storm, to be honest. I mean, he's terrible.
Yeah. Well, again, so as it is, Dino. But look, you've written time for a change Rashford-wise on the running order in the build-up to this episode. Doesn't sound like you feel too sorry for him, first of all. But is there any future for him under Amorim? Have you knowing what you know, is there a future for him? Because I quite agree with you. He's supposed to have, not just Manchester United, one of the leading players in the Premier League he's supposed to be. And if you're Manchester United, one of the bean counters, his salary would certainly, you'd expect a bit more of a return.
Yeah, and that's maybe one reason why they can't sell him is because of his salary and everything. But he's a Man United boy, and Amorim is very tactically flexible. He will play a 3-4-3, but it will be flexible. So against teams who play with a higher line, you know, there is a role for Rashford, but does he want, and is he going to be willing to be, a bit part player and not a starter in that 11? As it stands at the moment, he's nowhere near it.
Fair enough. Well, look, Dino, we've described Chelsea in the intro to this episode as enigmatic, yet improving. Now, I think they've taken most people by surprise this season. No one was jumping up and down, getting too excited about Enzo Maresca, but he's quietly gone about his business, and they're quite intriguing from a tactical perspective. But you think big faux pas for Maresca at Old Trafford on Sunday?
Yeah, in the Liverpool episode and then the Chelsea follow-up episode, when we were very impressed by the way that Chelsea have started and setting up and the tactical changes Maresca has made, we showed a heat map of Cole Palmer and where he's getting all his joy, and that's inside right. Yep. A bit narrower as a number 10 this year than he was under Pochettino, which was more from the right-hand side. And then yesterday, it was, I'll move Cole Palmer into a different position. Yep.
If it ain't broke,
yeah, I mean,
the phrase,
the best player in the Premier League at the moment, probably. And, you know, so he started with Malo Gusto as the right back and Reece James as the left back, which meant that he inverted Gusto and James played more of the time as part of the back three when they're in possession.
Which is normally what Gusto does when Cucurella's inverted.
Exactly, yeah. And also, Gusto has been playing as a left-back at times as well, and they've moved it the other way. But Palmer should be the one who's inside right 10. And what was happening was that's where Gusto was playing and Palmer was the inside left 10. And he a few times got into this position on his left foot where De Ligt did very well as a defender to sort of push him wide and block off his shot. But you know full well from the other side, it would have been a little feint and a ball and then a bend for the back post. And it just stifled him a little bit. And they changed it in the second half. You know, they brought Cucurella on, took Gusto off, switched it back to where it should have been. And the game became a bit erratic and a bit confused with United's formation went a little bit all over the place in the second half as well. But it was a bit un-Cole Palmer-like. And it's, you know, that's... you know, it's early days to be saying that, but we've come to expect such high standards, and he was a little bit anonymous.
So do you think that's over tinkering from Maresca, a bit on Palmer just having an off day, a bit of everything? What do you think?
I would imagine it was because he just wanted to play Gusto over Cucurella, and he wanted to get Reece James in the team as well. I mean, there was loads of right backs playing, you know, but you know, for me, the golden rule, just play your best player where your best player should be playing.
Yeah. Fair enough. Do you feel that he just sort of felt forced to do that though, or do you think he was trying too hard?
I don't think it was forced. It can't have been forced because clearly Cucurella was fit when he came on in the second half. And, you know, I want to see Cole Palmer doing Cole Palmer things, and he has not really had any joy on that inside left channel. All the joy comes on the other side. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, just quickly then, Dino, to wrap up, Ruben Amorim is the man in the hot seat, or will be very soon at Old Trafford. Do you think finally he's going to be the one to change the fortunes of this great old club, or is he just going to be yet another name on the seemingly never-ending list of managers who can't turn around the juggernaut that is United?
I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited because it's another manager who's new to the Premier League. It's a fresh face. He's young. You know, he's from everything that we read and hear, he's, you know, gets on well with players and he gets a lot out of players. So there's a lot of work to do at United, a heck of a lot of work to do. But we're going to see a new setup that we're not really seeing from any of the other big clubs in the Premier League at the moment. It's a new way of playing. Can it fit in? Will he be the one who actually unlocks how you take apart those Man City formations or those Liverpool formations? So there's some exciting stuff to come and more tactics to talk about.